This evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, Supreme Court by 3-2 majority decision dismisses injunction application filed by old Tafo Member of Parliament Vincent Assafuah challenging President Mahama's decision to suspend Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo this afternoon. We unpack the issues as they unfold in court, including the hearing of an application for the refusal of that particular indication that the courts gave earlier today. Stay with us, we've got details for you, and then also some private legal practitioners who have been reacting to this latest development in court. Also tonight, coalition of opposition political parties known as the Third Force laud the suspension of the Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, describing it as a significant win for constitutionalism. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition this evening. Minority Leader Assafuah markin demands disciplinary action against police constable he accuses of assaulting him during the Save the Judiciary protest. Meanwhile, the police has written to the Speaker of Parliament for the release of the Afutu Member of Parliament, Minority Leader Assafuah markin, to assist in investigations. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, Imani petitions Shraj to investigate Electoral Commission for breaking the law. We've got details for you on this latest development regarding the Electoral Commission boss. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Some 4 persons have been arrested in a kidnapping of Chinese nationals from a Ghanaian vessel. That's the update from the Ghana Police Service. We've got details from that press conference earlier today and the latest in the world of business and sports over the next 1 hour 30 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's settle for a summary of the news now. Christabel Success Trevor is here.
Thank you, Alfred. Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be taking it up here with the summaries. The Progressive People's Party, PPP, has praised President John Dramani Mahama for introducing a code of conduct for political appointees, describing his decision to declare and transfer gifted vehicles to the state as a commendable act of transparency. However, the party criticized the extension of the asset declaration deadline from March 31 to May 7, 2025. And called for constitutional reforms to ensure public access to assets declarations and mandatory disclosure for key officials. In a separate development, the government has appointed Professor Seydou Mahama Alidu, head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, as the new Executive Secretary of the Water Resources Commission. The appointment is seen as timely for advancing sustainable water governance in Ghana. Meanwhile, Minority Leader afenyo markin has petitioned the Inspector General of Police to investigate and sanction a police officer, Constable Forsin, whom he accuses of assault during the Save the Judiciary demonstration on May 5. And finally, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has cancelled 701 diplomatic and service passports that were not returned after recall. The affected documents, 341 diplomatic and 360 service passports, have been invalidated and placed on a stop list with strict enforcement measures in place at entry and exit points. Over to you, Alfred.
Thank you, Christopher. It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Y and beyond. As always, your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome. Let me just remind you as well, we're live on Facebook at 3FM 927, also live on YouTube at 3FM 92.7. All on there. You can share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions with us on the issues that we've been talking about here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 and also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's get straight into the matters this evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. As you remember, earlier be aware, President John Dramani Mahama launched the Code of Conduct to, as it were, guide the appointees that he has also appointed into office. A number of concerns have created some detail within that code of conduct. We'll get details into it shortly, but this is the president and also the Chief of Staff speaking about the details and the essence of this particular code of conduct and reason why it must be taken seriously.
18 February 2025, I set a deadline of 31st March 2025 for all appointees who are taking office or being nominated at the time to declare their assets. An update provided by the Auditor General to my office indicate that some of you failed to meet that deadline. For all those who are appointed or nominated before 31st March 2025 and failed to meet the deadline, you are to forfeit 3 months of salary to be donated to the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, named after me, Mahama Cares. In addition to 1 month's salary that I've asked all appointees to donate to the Mahama Cares Trust Fund. So it means that those who omitted to declare your assets by the date, you are paying 4 months' salary to Mahama Cares. However, if by close of day Wednesday, 7th May 2025, any of you still fails to declare your assets, count yourself automatically dismissed.
That's the President, John Dramani Mahama, yesterday. And then also, after he spoke, the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, gave some detail on what's going to be happening in the coming days. He says if you fail to declare your assets by tomorrow, those who have not done so, government appointees, then you should count yourself sacked. And if you try to call the President or he himself as Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, he will not pick up your call. That should be an indication to you that you've been fired.
Yes, honorable ministers, deputy ministers, and staffers. My work here is very simple, just to pave the way for His Excellency to launch the Code of Conduct. But before then, I just want to draw attention to one thing. An aspect of governance is like running a boarding school. There needs to be checks and balances, rules and regulations that tells you don't walk around during prep hours. The same thing applies to what we're doing here. And so, I will encourage each and every one of you, once you get your copy, to study it just like your Bible. Because there shall never be any excuse for whatsoever when you cross the line. And Mr. President, with your indulgence, let me tell them a little story. Colleagues, the only time you will not be able to reach the President is when we are about removing you. I've heard some of you say, oh, he's my friend, I go to his house. Trust me, even if you meander your way to reach him through his driver, his ADC, the President will tell you, as for this Julius, this issue came up, and I told him to wait. Look at what he's done. But he's written the letter already.
That's the Chief of Staff there, Julius Deborah, that launched yesterday. What we have today is an update. We have the full document, a 66-page code of conduct launched yesterday by the President. That has been made publicly available, and if you go on the presidency's website, you would get it. But the full complement of it you get on 3news.com as well. You go onto 3news.com, you would get the full complement of the code of conduct launched by the President yesterday to guide his appointees, and it's supposed to be abided by the appointees of President John Dramani Mahama. In fact, if you go on our Facebook page right now at 3FM 927, we're posting aspects of this code of conduct which has been published just a few minutes ago by the presidency. So in the matters of conflict of interest, appointees must avoid or disclose any situation where personal interest could interfere with official duties. One issue that has generated a lot of conversation is some 20,000 cedis in there somewhere. And this is what the code of conduct stipulates. Page 28, gifts and presents. The minister must submit any gift received in Ghana or from overseas to the Secretary to Cabinet for appropriate display. Where the minister wishes to retain gifts received, he may do so only if the estimated value does not exceed 20,000 cedis. Take note of that. Said if the minister wants to retain the said gifts received, he would only do so if the estimated value of the gift given to the minister or the government appointee does not exceed 20,000. So essentially what that means is that gifts received with the value of 20,000 and below can be kept by the minister or the appointee. And it goes on to say, where the estimated value of the gift is more than 20,000 cedis, the minister may retain the gift or decide to disclose it and declare it to cabinet in the interest of transparency. Upon leaving office, the minister must relinquish to cabinet any gift estimated to be worth over 20,000 cedis, unless the minister obtains the express permission of the president to retain the said gift. It is this particular provision in the code of conduct that has generated some conversation in there, and it's where I bring in Martin Pebble, is a private legal practitioner and also anti-corruption crusader. Counsel, thank you so much for joining us. Now, is there any concern in the issues that members of the general public, some members of the general public have raised about this particular aspect of the code of conduct, that this threshold for the gifts that the ministers and government appointees can keep, 20,000 cedis or below, they can keep those gifts, but 20,000 cedis and above, they should declare it. Does it have any legitimacy, the concerns that people have, that the 20,000 cedis threshold is too high and that really it should be lower? I mean, 5,000 cedis, 2,000 cedis they can keep, but 20,000 cedis, that's much on the high side. You agree?
That, yes, it definitely does to some extent, because let's not forget the fact that the president called the appointees together, right, and held this ceremony. Yeah, it's a form of conscientization. You know, I'm always grateful for every small things, because he's brought it back into the front burner. That's a conversation. So to that extent, for me, it makes a difference. And he's personally told them, and I heard what the chief of staff also told them, that look, they will be sacked, the letter will be written, you come back to his chief of staff, nothing can be done, you go to the president, nothing can be done. Yes, so it's some form of conscientization, right? But as I stated earlier, we should learn. The main key thing is that, yeah, we'll come to the gift, the threshold of 20,000. But the main thing I want to re-emphasize is that President Akufo-Addo for 8 years didn't deal with the Mahama code of conduct. He didn't use it, right? So yes, we've already invested some energy in this code that's been launched. Yes, it's all right. But let's move on and get it into hard law, an act of parliament. Yes, let's do one that, yes, even though theoretically somebody can say the new government can repeal it. Well, if you want to repeal it when a new government comes, they are going to face the wrath of the Ghanaian. You know, now we are different. Oh, you see how Galamsey has united us as a country, etc. So the same way, this law, we've been having this conversation for over 20 years. So once we get it passed, it's not going to be easy for the next government to just come and repeal it anyhow, you see. So let's do it. Let's do it. So that's going to be the way to go. Now, back to the matter of the content, what has been shared with us so far. Yeah, the 20,000, yes, I understand the president. Yes, I understand. At a certain level, 20,000 is not much money. But if you look at it from the perspective of the poverty figures, so as far as I'm aware, not less than 10% of our people have food insecurity. I know the number is higher. In a country where you have more than 10% suffering from food insecurity, etc., 20,000 is a lot of money. So 20,000, that would be at least like, it's about 700 or so a month. Hey, that's a lot of money. Even the leap that we've been giving the very poor people, I don't think one individual can get more than 700 Ghana cedis a month. So it tells you that poverty being a very big problem, and especially graduate unemployment. When the graduates hear this, they'll be very dissatisfied because they are home, they have no jobs. So when they hear a public office can get a gift of 20,000 and not declare it, it's going to cause a lot of disaffection.
Right. And Martin Pebble there is private legal practitioner, but let's still stay on the matters of the court. And as I indicated earlier today, the Supreme Court has dismissed an injunction application which was seeking to halt the suspension of the Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo by President John Dramani Mahama in a 3-2 majority decision. A 5-member panel of the court, presided over by the acting Chief Justice, Justice Paul Bafuboni, dismissed the application filed by the old Tafo Member of Parliament, Vincent Assafuah. Now, Justice Bafuboni, Emmanuel, Yoni Kolendi, and Tanko Amadou were on the majority, while Justices Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu and Ernest Gao dissented. Now, the court did not give full reasoning behind the decision, which it said will be ready by May 21, which was some 15 days away from today. Earlier in the day, the Supreme Court dismissed an objection which was seeking the recusal of the acting Chief Justice, Justice Paul Bafuboni, from the panel hearing the injunction application against the suspension of the Chief Justice Torkornoo. Now, in a unanimous decision, the 5-member panel of the court held that the objection had no merit, but some others think otherwise. In fact, Lord Edwasari's legal affairs correspondent was in court today. This particular objection, even though it was a unanimous decision, after the court hearing today, Godfrey Dami, the former AG, was also not too happy about it, is it not?
Yeah. So, Alfred, basically, the stance of the former Attorney General, who is the lawyer for the plaintiff in the matter, Tafo MP Vincent Assafuah, was that, so the two objections, right? The first one had to do with the acting Chief Justice, Justice Bafuboni, sitting as part of the panel of justices on the matter. Now, his argument was that for the administration of justice to be seemed to be exercised, and for the confidence of the public to be reinforced in the judiciary, the acting Chief Justice ought not to have been sitting on the case. Now, Alfred, we both know that Justice Bafuboni is acting as Chief Justice because he's the most senior justice at the apex courts at this point, over 17 years at the Supreme Court, and so automatically, per the provisions of the Constitution, he's supposed to assume the role of the acting Chief Justice, and that was the reason why I seated on it. So, Godfrey Demo was making the argument that he stands to gain if the Chief Justice, the tentative Chief Justice, Gertrude Torkorno, is removed. He becomes the substantive, right? So, it is not proper for him to sit on the case, but Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Ramsay opposed this argument that he put forward, saying that the role being carried out by the acting Chief Justice Bafuboni is not one of benefits. He's not there because it's beneficial to him, but is one of duty. It's not like he has any choice anyway. He has to perform that duty because he's the most senior justice at the Supreme Court presently, and so that's why he's assumed the role, and so he has to empanel that. Afterwards, like you indicated, it was overruled, was dismissed. The second issue has to do with Dami again petitioning or objecting this time around the entire reconstitution of the 5-member panel of justices sitting on this matter. Now, however, if you recall, since the case started, a different panel had been sitting, and this panel was chaired by Justice Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu. The others included Justice Pramang, Justice Gaiwu, Samuel Sedu, who we now understand he's part of the committee investigating the petition against the Chief Justice.
So he's off.
He's off now. So if anything, perhaps we're expecting that maybe he would have recused himself, and so if anything, he would have been replaced. But we came today and realized that the entire panel had been reconstituted, with the exception of Justice Henrietta Mensah Bonsu and then Ernest Gaiwu remaining. The 3 new additions now were the acting Chief Justice Bafuboni, Justice Emmanuel Yoni Kolendi, and then Justice Amadou Tanko. Now, Godfrey Dame's argument was that because the case had already begun, the old empaneled justices ought to have seen the entire hearing through. But the panel of justices chaired by the acting Chief Justice indicated that cannot be the case because the case, since its inception, had not really taken off per se. Because on the first day that the case was heard, it had to be adjourned indefinitely or sine die. Because, and Alfred, you recall that on that particular day, Attorney General Dr. Dominic Aine sent a letter to the Chief Justice, who then informed all the judges across board that they were attending a symposium, and so he could not attend it.
Absolutely.
And that was why it was adjourned indefinitely. And the next time they were back in court was when we got to know that Samuel Isiru was absent, and so they adjourned again to today.
True. So essentially, the case in itself had not been heard in detail.
Exactly.
Let's hear from Godfrey Yabodame, and I have two distinguished lawyers on the telephone to join this conversation. But take a listen to the former Attorney General, who is counsel to Old Tafo Member of Parliament Vincent Assafuah, earlier today.
I find it quite intriguing to start with that the acting Chief Justice himself will decide the proceedings, and as I indicated, I find it very incongruous. If at all there is any beneficiary from all of these developments, and the acting Chief Justice is really a direct beneficiary of this. Of course, there's a constitutional injunction for him to act as municipal senior, but clearly we cannot lose sight of the fact that whatever has happened and it's a Congress in the constitutional history of this country. We've never seen any development like that before. Whenever there has been a dispute as to the state of the Chief Justice in this country, start from 1980 for the Attorney General, start from 1983, 84, Aban, and we go to 2005, thereabout, the Chief Justice in person and panel the court, but never sat on the matter. I mean, so it cannot be right for the Chief Justice to say on the matter. But that's it. We see the 3-2 ruling, very narrow decision. We wait for the reasons. When the reasons come, we definitely advise ourselves. The narrowness of the decision itself indicates clearly that the application no doubt had merit and will know what to do. Right?
Your main argument, your final what makes the timeline.
The reasons for the decision have not been known. Of course, clearly, I mean, the spirit of Article 146 we're talking about. In the first place, it is important to indicate that nowhere in Article 146 will you find a requirement for prima facie intervention made for Chief Justice. But the Supreme Court itself imported that into Article 146 in 2005 when it adjudicated on the Assafuah matter. But of course, the Supreme Court was silent on whether there ought to be notification to the Chief Justice and obtaining of his comment before triggering the process. And that is what is in dispute before the courts. My contention is that natural justice, all the rules of constitutionalism and all will require that there ought to be such process before Article 146 can be triggered. Thank you very much.
Well, so that's Alfred Yabodame there. He is counsel to the Old Tafo Member of Parliament, Vincent Assafuah, and then also speaking to journalists after the hearing today. And Lord, stay with me, because I have lawyer Kweku Ansari is former director of the Ghana School of Law, and also Christian Mamhesi is the private legal practitioner, constitutional lawyer as well. Gentlemen, I thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition. Good evening to you.
Good evening, thank you.
Let me start off with you, sorry, for good reason. I mean, some, including the applicant and his lawyer, as you just heard him, argue that to the extent that the outcome of the application somewhat benefits the acting Chief Justice, he should have recused himself from this case. There was a unanimous decision on that particular point. But then again, Godfrey Yabodame is convinced in his mind that precedence does not even support the acting AG being part of the panel for this case. Is there any merit in this?
No, not at all. There's no merit. The Constitution says that the Chief Justice shall be the head of the judiciary and has total administrative control, which includes the question of who to empanel. And the Constitution does not purport to exclude the head from taking, on cases and assuming jurisdiction as it were to hear a case. So the unanimous verdict of the 5 justices is correct in law. What my good son, Dr. Dami, is suggesting is that merely because the acting Chief Justice, is in an acting position, if the petition for the CJ's removal enjoys success, then, he stands to benefit. I mean, it's neither here nor there. The president may decide to change his mind and go for another person. So So merely because it's in an acting position doesn't mean that the president is constitutionally obliged to vest on the position of Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. So the argument is non sequitur. It doesn't follow as a matter of course at all. On the other hand, those who are saying that the acting Chief Justice has no administrative mandate to empanel are getting it wrong, because as head of the judiciary, he can decide, to put A here and B there. Now, empaneling is not the same as assuming jurisdiction. So on the third day that the case was called, there was a panel, but we did not assume jurisdiction because of the letter the Attorney General had written to the court, notifying the court that the law officers might not be able to attend, the court that day, because they had been already firmly engaged elsewhere. So the court did not assume jurisdiction. There's a difference between empaneling and assumption of jurisdiction. So assumption of jurisdiction would then, confer legality on the proceedings of that day. So even though, they sat, they did not assume jurisdiction to commence, proceedings because of that letter. Now, if they had commenced proceedings, then those who are arguing that the panel ought not, to assume would be right, because they had already they had already commenced proceedings. And one of the allegations against the incumbent Chief Justice is that he was interfering, in the judicial administration and administration of justice, by changing and transferring judges here and there. So the same argument would have been used against Baf Bonny. That did not, arise, and therefore the question doesn't arise, either. That's my, honest opinion on this matter.
I see.
Since they hadn't assumed jurisdiction, the acting Chief Justice was right, to reconstitute the panel. In any case, the element of fairness, could be questioned right from the moment the first panel, was constituted. Was it fair to have excluded, the first 5 most senior justices of the Supreme Court? If it was fair, fair enough. If it was not fair, then the acting Chief Justice has every right to bring back some of the seniors. Mind you, Justice Mahama, has been called to national number 2, or let's say number 3.
I think that
Babu Bonny is
I find it quite
taking the Justice leadership, Gertrude Torkorno, then Babu Bonny, then Mahama in that order, and then So let us have the seniors. There's nothing wrong in having for Babu Bonny,
we cannot lose sight of the fact that it's a cause in that order. There's nothing wrong with that. We've never seen any involvement like that before. Whenever this has to be the state of the Chief Justice in this country. Start from 1980, when I said start from 1993, 94, Japan, and 2005, thereabouts.
My good friend for Dr. Dami is suggesting that it was not fair for Babu Bonny to do what he did. But similarly, on October, let me just cast the nation's mind back to October 17, 18, and 20. When, objection was raised by Story against Gao, the Chief Justice, her ladyship, Gertrude Torkorno, said there was nothing wrong. And Dami was the Attorney General then, who had appeared before their lordships and saw nothing wrong. Why is he today complaining? If Gao, who was, appointed from an MPP constituency onto the bench was allowed to sit on an MPP case, I don't see why the same party should now complain merely because the acting Chief Justice is sitting on the case as one of the panel members. I think the argument is flawed and shouldn't be entertained at all.
I see. And then looking at the details and how things played out, maybe we'll get into the ruling in a bit. But the reference was made to Georgina Wood, while a Chief Justice, she recused herself a number of times from cases, that she empaneled, essentially. So does that have any direct reference to what is happening now, especially because of the directive that the acting CJ, had given to empanel justice for all cases?
I don't think so. I think that the refusal of one of Ghana's ablest lady Chief Justices, Georgina Wood, doesn't mean or provide presidential value to the nation, not at all. I mean, when she went to Kenya as a Chief Justice, she passed. So maybe because of her cultural affinities and challenges, she decided not to take, because if she starts, this is person who said that she was appointed by Kufuor while she's sitting on. So maybe she decided that she said something within her that suggested to her that she should not take, and she didn't say. That doesn't mean that other Chief Justices must necessarily toe that line. It has no presidential value. The Constitution says in Article 125.3 that the Chief Justice shall be the head of the judiciary, shall be the head. And as the head, she has the most say in every matter. Now, this issue of empaneling is something, that has, been a perennial issue. It's been going on since Nkrumah's days. And I remember in the 90s, Justice J.N.K. Taylor, brought an application for consideration of justices of the Supreme Court. At that time, Chief Justice Showa, was the head of the judiciary. And all the justices felt that, according to the doctrine of necessity, they should not, do anything about that, the provision that allows the Chief Justice as the administrative head to empanel. So if you look at the other decided cases, Bright Akwete, J. Tom, and the others, it was the Chief Justice who empaneled. And in Ghana Bar Association versus Chief Justice Abans, a strong Supreme Court decided that it is the constitutional duty of the Chief Justice, whether substantive or in an acting capacity, to empanel. They could do nothing about it, and that Ghanaians must have confidence in the head of the judiciary to do what is right, and not always to read meaning into what the Chief Justice will do, or as to whether the Chief Justice will include this person or exclude that person.
Well, talking about reading meanings,
that the Chief Justice will do the right thing.
Right, and talking about reading meanings, already the ruling and those who opposed has also, for some, sent certain signals, because this decision that was delivered today saw Justices Henrietta Mensah Bonsu and Esgaiwo dissenting, essentially. And they were the ones who were part of the panel that started hearing this case. Those who, based on this decision today, supported and in fact gave that majority decision was Justice Paul Bafoboni, the Chief Justice, acting, and then also Justice Yoni Kolendi and Justice Amadou Tanko. These three were the ones who were added to the reconstituted panel. What signal does this send you?
Well, is one of guesswork. It's not going to be based, on law. That because signals, are not, informed, by what the law says. The law is in the bosom of the judges. One, they are saying that there's nothing wrong. All five of them, there's nothing wrong, in including or having the acting CJ as part of them. There's nothing wrong. Now, if they say their contention is that there's nothing wrong with it, then the signal to the nation is that let's have confidence, in the judiciary being delivered in accordance with the law, in accordance with what the law says. And mind you, Chief Justice Torkornoo has always explained that the Supreme Court, when they say all that they do is based on what the law says. So whether they were empaneled by the incumbent Chief Justice, or let's say the suspended Chief Justice, or the acting Chief Justice, what they are, the signal to the nation is that we control the law. The law is in our bosom, and on this occasion we are split. So there's division, in our opinion as to the verdict that we are going to deliver. So three felt that the process should not be halted. Two felt it should be halted. Personally, I think that the president would rather be contravening the law if he should halt the process. The president may lift, doesn't mean the president should lift the suspension. I mean, it would be absurd for the president to receive the petition, go through the consecutive stages, forward it to the Council of State, hold consultation with the Council of State, agree that there's a prima facie case, set up a committee, suspend the Chief Justice in order to allow the committee to do its work to completion, and then all of a sudden, would decide to halt it. On what basis? It must be informed in law. It must be informed in law. And, I personally, think that we should allow the process, to work to the end. Let the process work. Let us see the outcome. Let the doubting Thomases have their day. Let those, petitioners have their day. At the end of the day, the president has made it quite clear. And the Supreme Court has also added his voice. The suspension is not an acknowledgement or admission of guilt on the part of leadership Chief Justice Torkornoo. Not at all. Well, all it means is the Constitution says that if a committee is established, then it means, as a necessary consequence, the Chief Justice shall be suspended. It is not the president who is suspended. It is the language of the Constitution that has been implemented. That is all.
For you, even before this case started, you said it was dead on arrival. I mean, for the applicants, to the extent that for them, to the applicants, they say that to the extent that 2 out of the 5 justices who sat on this case agree with them, it cannot be the case that this is a case that was dead on arrival.
Oh, for me, it will remain, dead on arrival, to eternity, because, if in the reasonable contemplation of the premise of the Constitution, the process could be halted, then the Constitution, would have created room for that. And, the Rules Committee would then, act on a particular provision to say that where a citizen or a person is aggrieved, that person, can avail himself or herself of Article 2(1) of the Constitution, then we'll have, a very strong case for that. But it is not for nothing that Article 2 has created room for any person who is aggrieved, that the Constitution is being strangulated to go to court. So when you feel aggrieved that something is being done which is unconstitutional can go to court, but on this Article 146, there's no such room for Article 2. Okay, so no one can invoke the Supreme Court, to like this instant application to hold the process. It is unconstitutional.
I thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time on this matter, and I know we're going to be engaging some more as we go on. Appreciate you. And there you just heard the former director of the Ghana School of Law there talking to us. And Kweku Atsasari, let me Christian Mamhese is also private legal practitioner, has been listening every step of the way. Now, I want to bring you in briefly on this particular outcome today and whether or not there is any merit in that concern raised by the applicants in this particular injunction. Well, that has been thrown out now to the extent that, in their view, 2 out of the 5 justices agree with them. They're going to review the full details of the reasoning, and then they'll take the next step. And then also the fact that, in their view, the acting Chief Justice should have recused himself in this particular case. I want to find out your thoughts on this.
Okay, all right. So thank you for having me. In a way, I mean, the issue about the Chief Justice recusing himself in matters of this nature, it has been decided by a lot of cases. You look at the Ghana Bar Association versus Attorney General, where Martin A.B. Amedu was then the Deputy Attorney General who was the applicant, and you have Joseph Kwasi-Aiden as the respondent sometime in 1996 that sought to challenge Justice Isaac Kobina-Aban to such a situation. And the court in its decision indicated explicitly that, I mean, the judicial independence is protected and cannot be undermined by any such external action, such as attempting to prevent the Chief Justice from sitting or empaneling the court. And the court further went on to emphasize that the Constitution establishes judicial independence, and any attempt by that to be seen as interfering with the Chief Justice's constitutional function, and that is unconstitutional. You know, the interesting thing is that if you further look at this case of Kunia and others versus Acha and Co., and we had a very star-studded panel at the Supreme Court, led by Justice Adade, and then followed by Francois, whose judgment is mostly indicated as one of prose in literary form. And you had Amwasechi, Akins, Edward Reid, Bamford Addo, and Efron Benjamin. And they also had the opportunity in Kuniya to say that the Chief Justice has the constitutional role, including presiding over courts and also empaneling judicial proceedings, and that no attempt by a litigant would cause this function to be deferred. And the most, or let me say, the locus classicus case in this particular one has to do with what you call it, Assafuah and Kwasi-Aiden in 1968. And in this situation, again, when the Chief Justice was being hounded not to empanel or to sit, again, the court had the opportunity to deal with this. And the court, again, in the Chachuchi Kata versus Chief Justice and Attorney General, referred and quoted these cases that I had mentioned to you with approval, that the Chief Justice has a role to play as far as Article 125 and Article 128. Article 128 deals with the functions of the Chief Justice, which deals with empaneling. Whether the Chief Justice is part which it is his discretion, or the Chief Justice will put the members of the Supreme Court together to have that quorum of 5.
Right.
And that no attempt by any litigant they would yield to it. And he went on to say that if that happens, it means that the Chief Justice will be ceding to the maneuvers of a litigant. And that those were the phrases that were used. These are areas of law that has been litigated,
already dealt with.
Has been given over and over, and it is nothing new. That's why there was a unanimous decision.
It's a very important point you make, and then the president you reference as well. And I do thank you so much.
Maybe we'll talk more about it.
Certainly, I agree perfectly with you on this. Chris Mamhesi is private legal practitioner. So, Lord, what next after today? Quickly.
Well, it just means that the work of the committee, there will be no impediments. They're now going to proceed, and then once they're done with the investigations, we'll know the outcome of what they came up with regarding the petition against the Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo.
I appreciate you so much. Lord Edwasari is our legal affairs correspondent. Now, the Third Force Alliance Ghana, a coalition of political parties, they've lauded the suspension of the Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. According to the group, the decision marks a significant win for constitutionalism and not partisanship. Speaking at a news conference held here a day after the Save the Judiciary demonstration in Accra, General Secretary of the People's National Convention, that's PNC, Audu Ishak, asserted that President Mahama has renewed hope in the rule of law.
Mahama has reminded us of the real essence of leadership. It is not about titles or applause, but about responsibility and action. The suspension of the Chief Justice is not a celebration of anyone's downfall. It is a celebration of constitutionalism. It is a moment where Ghana affirms that even the judiciary, the last hope of the common man, must be guarded against perception of impropriety and public mistrust. President Mahama's decision is not one of vengeance or partisanship, but a renewal of faith in the rule of law. Leadership demands tough calls. It demands that the leader sees what others ignore, hears what others are silent on, and acts when others hesitate.
That's the collection of the third forces there, made up of the political parties, including the CPP, PNC, GFP, GCPP, and APC. The minority leader, Alexander afenyo Markin, has petitioned the Inspector General of Police to investigate constable forcing a police officer he accuses of assaulting him during Monday's Save the Judiciary demonstration. The Afutu MP is also demanding disciplinary action against the officer. He made the request in a formal letter addressed to the IGP's office today. The lawmaker insists the IGP must address the incident to correct misleading narratives circulating in the public domain. This follows the police's publicized invitation to the minority leader to assist investigations regarding the viral video showing him knocking on an officer's head during the protest. In a press release dated May 5, the police confirmed reviewing the footage of the alleged assault and had written to the Speaker of Parliament requesting afenyo Markin's release to aid investigation. However, shortly after the police invitation, afenyo Markin also refuted the claims that he assaulted an officer, instead alleging that he was the one attacked by the said constable. And Dennis Paberewadam is with me in studio to just run through exactly how the issues are played out over the period. Dennis, there was a video which we have a copy of. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, you will see it. But essentially, what is the police's import on this, and why afenyo Markin is also reacting this way?
Well, so that video had become very popular, like you mentioned, on social media. And just to give our listeners a sense of what that video contains, you would find that there was a scuffle between the minority leader and a police officer. You would find in that video, depending on the angle that you see, you would see the hand of the minority leader hit the head of the police officer. Now, we would later learn from the account of the minority leader, Alexander afenyo Markin, that video that we are seeing was being put out in a certain way, and that it was a twist of the narrative, and that in the circumstances he was not the one who was the aggressor, and that it was the police officer who actually attacked him. He gives an account of how it all happened, how they went to the Supreme Court to give a petition, and when they got to Parliament House, that was where the incident happened. He gave an account as to where exactly he alleged the police officer hit him and how he nearly collapsed. He had to lean against a wall to regain his composure before he could continue. At a point, he even said he was given water by a national service person and all that. If you read that statement of his, which he issued yesterday, it gives a vivid narration of what he says is the event that took place yesterday. He also went on to say that he had to do so because of how the facts were twisted in the public to make it seem like he was the one who was the aggressor, but that it was rather the police officer.
The office of the special prosecutor.
He actually made a call that police officer needed to be investigated, or the incident needed to be investigated, and then the police officer would face disciplinary actions. He did indicate in that statement that he was going to file an official complaint at the IGP for the investigation to be done. And subsequent to that, he indeed did, officially to the IGP, attaching that document where he narrated what he says at the incident of that particular event as part of the document that the police would use to start the investigations. Now, the interesting thing is that while all that was happening, the police issued a statement. I think the police even issued a statement earlier than we had seen the statement from afenyo markin. And the police statement was simply to the effect that they had also seen the video in circulation and they had taken interest in it. They had looked at several video footage, and then they had made requests to the speaker for the minority leader to be released for him to assist in investigating the matter. It's more like a petition and a cross petition. So while the minority leader was alleging that the police officer actually attacked him, when you read the police statement, you would find that they seem to be suggesting that what they saw in there was rather an attack on the police officer, which they wanted to investigate and get to the bottom of the matter. So essentially, that's the bottom line, or that's how the matters have unfolded just within yesterday after the demonstration. That's the Save the Judiciary demonstration, which happened yesterday. The police have also been addressing this matter not long ago. And I'm sure you have that.
Yes, the Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, Lydia Donko, is saying the decision follows a thorough review, as you indicated. They review the video footages, and eventually, as you also reference, written to the Speaker, inviting afenyo markin to answer some questions.
I believe that we also, or there are videos in social media about an altercation or confrontation that happened during the demonstration. We captured it on our lenses as well, so it's a matter of investigation. If it's an assault, if it's a tussle or a confrontation, whatever it is called, it has to be investigated. So we've commenced that investigation. We've written to the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, because he's a sitting member of Parliament. We've identified the police officers who were on duty at the scene. We have taken statements and we'll definitely update you in due course. Thank you very much.
So that's the police's account of what happened and what the details of what they revealed so far.
Yes, precisely so. They seem to have taken serious view of this particular matter, and as they've clearly indicated, it's a matter that they're looking into. I mean, they couldn't disclose a lot more because, as she rightly pointed out, it's a matter of investigation which they are still working on. But this certainly has become a very controversial matter on social media, depending on the kind of footage that you are seeing, because there are some videos in circulation where people have started to scrutinize the videos closely to see if they can see really what the minority leader has described, because he seemed to have said a lot of things that clearly, if you were not on the ground or if you're not part of people who are around, you wouldn't be able to see what he did said. But the interesting thing about it is that he makes mention that some senior police officers were around to corroborate what he is saying, and that when the matter comes for investigation, he's sure all these people will come around to testify in that particular regard, Alfred.
Dennis, I appreciate you for this. And let's stay a bit further on this matter. Richard Kumado is a security consultant, is joining us on the telephone for a quick conversation on this. I appreciate you for your time, Mr. Commodore. This is a matter I know you've been following quite closely and how it's been unfolding over the last 24 hours. The police CID says they're already reviewing the various footages from different angles. They have also indicated, written to the Speaker of Parliament, requesting that Alexander Markin be questioned on this. Which areas should be of interest in investigating this matter?
I think one, they'll be looking for a misconduct, not just the frontliners, but any other person in the line. And they'll also be looking at the particular issue that has constituted an attack on the officer or an attack on the state. The point has to be made that when it comes to demonstrations such as the one we are talking about, the police have the opportunity of having a lot of cameras around. And those cameras have the capacity of capturing images and voices and actions and activities of a whole lot of people, including the police officers themselves. If it is true that the police have reviewed and they have come to a conclusion that one of their own has been attacked or assaulted, then I don't think the police will need a permission from any landlord to arrest anybody who has come under investigation notice. So that is the procedure. And we should not be dragging this among ourselves and be fighting among ourselves.
Saying that, the Alexander Markin also has a different narrative of exactly what happened, and beyond what we're seeing in the videos that's gone viral, because in his view the videos capture the scenes from a particular angle and from a particular point, which does not capture the full complement of the incidents of the day.
Yes, so in law enforcement procedure, before the police said we are inviting you for investigation, it means that they have deduced some level of evidence of a crime being committed or an intention. And so that is the procedure. If the police is saying that you are being invited for investigation in a particular crime, particularly when a crime is being reported to have been committed, it means you have come under crime notice, and you have come under investigation notice, and you have come under police notice. So that is the way it is. So that is the point I'm making, is that the police have enough cameras on the ground, and for police to issue a letter inviting a particular person within an actionable area to have come under crime notice, it means that the police have done their job. If they haven't done it, then it's a different question. But to the extent that the police is inviting you, it means that there's a charge for you to answer. And we will need to wait for him to respond to the police, make himself available to the police for that level of interviewing or the engagement.
I do appreciate your time, Mr. Commodore. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alfred.
He is a security consultant following this case quite closely. Let's still stay with the police. They say that they are ready to provide security for the Electoral Commission to complete the collation and declaration of parliamentary results in the Ablekuma North constituency. Bear in mind that the Ablekuma North constituency is not represented in Parliament. They do not have an MP. As we speak, at a news conference, Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, Lady Adonko, stated that once the Electoral Commission signals readiness to proceed, the police will not hesitate to offer the necessary security support.
The election collation, as Director of Public Affairs said, if the EC is ready, we are always ready to provide the security. So I believe that they will take it up with the Inspector General of Police, but the service is always ready to provide the needed security support for any exercise, whether it's the EC or any other institute.
Stay with us. This is Hot Edition. We're back with the latest in the world of business. Bismarck Ewusa is standing by with more after this quick break.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Business Segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up tonight, President John Dramani Mahama announces government plans to reduce unemployment rate to below 5% from current 14.7% through non-traditional export earnings. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. Government has set a target to reduce Ghana's unemployment rate to under 5% from the current 14.7%. This goal aligns with the recently announced plan to triple non-traditional export earnings to at least $10 billion by the year 2030. Speaking at the seat of government, President John Dramani Mahama emphasized the necessity of transitioning towards an import substitution and export-led economy to generate sustainable employment opportunities for the country's youth.
We will support our private sector partners to invest in agro-processing and light manufacturing. In the textiles industry, where 75% of inputs are still imported, we must act to decisively harness the potential of a $6 billion regional market. Ghana has the potential to substantially increase our exports of garments across Africa and to the world. Through targeted incentives and strategic partnerships, we will scale up our local production and participation in this value chain. Our 24-hour economy strategy will complement this ambition by developing focused value chains in cassava, tomato, palm oil, pharmaceuticals, textiles and garments, and industrial machinery. With effective implementation, we are confident that by 2034, Ghana can reduce the national unemployment rate from 14.7% as it currently stands to under 5%.
And that was President John Dramani Mahama. Now, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, has announced that a bill to review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported for industrial and agricultural purposes will be laid before Parliament when the House resumes sitting. This move aims to fulfill President John Mahama's campaign promise to scrap taxes within his first 120 days in office.
Nearly 47% of Ghanaian exporters report facing serious trade obstacles, with non-tariff measures and procedural delays accounting for most of these challenges.
It's being worked on. As soon as Parliament reconvenes, that will be laid for Parliament for approval and it will be handled. We know we are working to establish what we call the farmers' service centers in all the agricultural districts. You know, these centers are to serve as one-stop shop for all the farmers in the district. Assuming one is established in Assafuah South District, we are going to have tractors there, we are going to have combine harvesters, plowers, and all the equipment that the farmers will require for their farming activities at the center. Then we have the improved seeds, we have the fertilizers, then we have the agricultural extension officers on their motorbikes at the center. So if the farmer goes to the center and then indicates to the center that, oh, I want tractors for my farming activities, even if the farmer doesn't have money, the center will release the tractors to go and work for him. And then when they harvest, then they take some of the crops to pay off the debt. If you do that, every farmer, wherever you are located in this country, will have access to agricultural mechanization.
And that was the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku. Moving on, distinguished financial economist, Professor Lord Mensah of the University of Ghana Business School has been appointed as the new head of the local government service. Professor Mensah brings a wealth of academic and practical experience to the role. He holds a PhD in Applied Economics Finance from the University of Antwerp, Belgium, an MSE in Financial Mathematics from the University of Kaiserslautern, Germany, and a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. Professor Lord Mensah's appointment as head of the local government service is expected to bring significant financial and economic expertise to the management of local government systems, with potential implications for fiscal decentralization
and development financing across Ghana. Now, the Ghana cedi posted its strongest monthly performance this year in April by improved forex liquidity following targeted interventions by the Bank of Ghana. The local currency's sharp appreciation signals growing market confidence in the central bank's stabilization efforts. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more. The Ghana cedi demonstrated significant reliance against major trading currencies in April, following decisive action by the Bank of Ghana to stabilize the forex market. The central bank injected $490 million into the market to ease pressure on demand, a move that analysts say helped calm volatility and restore confidence in the local unit. As a result, the cedi appreciated by 5.3% month-on-month against the US dollar, the highest monthly gain so far this year. This brings the year-to-date gain to 7.44% on the retail market. Against the British pound, the cedi also firmed up, posting a 0.71% appreciation in April, contributing to a 0.79% year-to-date increase. It held relatively steady against the euro, slipping by just 0.3% during the month and narrowing its losses against the European currency to 1.83% for the year. The central bank's interventions reflect ongoing efforts to stabilize the local currency amidst global economic uncertainties and seasonal demand for forex. Market watchers say sustained interventions and increased foreign inflows could further support the cedi's performance in the coming months. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on the cedi recording strongest monthly gain in 2025 as Bank of Ghana's $490 million injection stabilizes the forex market. Meanwhile, the local currency is selling at about 14 cedis 60 pesos to $1 in the retail market. Before we go, Ghana's financial gold reserves have soared to 31.37 tons as of April 2025, nearly 4 times the stockpile recorded in May 2023. The Bank of Ghana says this sharp increase is part of its effort to strengthen the cedi and diversify foreign reserve holdings by purchasing more domestically mined gold. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details. Ghana is fast building its gold reserves, reaching 31.37 tons by the end of April this year, up from just 8.78 tons in May 2023. The Bank of Ghana attributes this sharp rise to its domestic gold purchase program, which aims to reduce the country's dependence on traditional foreign currencies and strengthen the local economy. A key driver of this policy is the Gold Board, an oversight body created under President John Dramani Mahama to regulate and formalize the sale of gold by small-scale miners. Gold Board has been instrumental in recent negotiations with 9 large-scale mining firms, securing a deal for them to sell 20% of their gold production directly into the local market. This has allowed the central bank to accumulate more gold without draining foreign exchange reserves. The strategy not only supports financial stability, but also taps into Ghana's strength as Africa's leading gold producer to boost national development. And that will be all for the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We start off with the Black Satellites, who kept their qualification hopes well and truly alive with a crucial 1-0 win over defending champion Senegal at the new Suez Stadium on Monday in Egypt. Emmanuel Mensah's first half strike gave Ghana their first victory of the tournament following a 1-1 draw with DR Congo in their opening match. Ghana will face Central Africa in their final Group C game on Thursday, with a positive result potentially securing a spot in the quarterfinals. Mensah, who was named man of the match after his lone strike helped Ghana to victory, said that it's his dream to win the coveted trophy alongside being named player of the tournament.
I think my qualities are I'm fast, I know how to dribble, yeah, so that's my quality, yeah. I think the camp is good. My first time, like, when I came to the camp, the guys welcomed me very good, so yeah, I think the camp is good, yeah. I think our target is to qualify for the World Cup, but we look forward to, win the African Cup, yeah. My dream is I want just participate in the AFCON, then so many teams to, yeah. For me, my dream is like to win the best player of the AFCON. Yeah, that's what I think I want to do right now. Yeah, the technical team, Coach Desmo is a very good person. Yeah, all the technical members are like good people. I've been working with them for about a year. Yeah, I think they are good. Yeah, what we need from them is their support and their prayers. That's what we need.
And so that was Emmanuel Mensah speaking to 3 Sports after he scored the goal that gave the Black Satellites victory against Senegal. He was also a judge man of the match in that game as well. Let's move on where we head to my colleague Mutala Yakubu, who highlights the importance of the victory for the Black Satellites over reigning champion Senegal. And he also touches on Ghana's woes prior to the tournament.
Of the group that we are in, and the fact that we drew against DR Congo and Senegal, opponent that we just beat today, also drew their game. So it was still a very wide open group, and we needed to pick up 3 points because the team that played before us, that is DR Congo, had won their game. So we also needed to respond strongly, even though it wasn't the most, clinical of performances. So you would say that it was a good win because I've told you about the problems that I have with this under-20 team. The whole preparation was a bit scattered, a bit sketchy, looking at the team that Desmond wanted to send to the tournament in Ivory Coast. He couldn't get most of the boys, even with the Wafu team that qualified to this tournament. He was able to get just 8 of them. You are a coach and you know that after this game, Jerry Efriye is going back to his club. There are so many things that are not right for him at the moment, but getting the win was very, very crucial. We could have scored more though, and for me on the day, the Senegalese team was also below par. They didn't create enough. We created all the best chances, and I'm hoping that they will move on from this performance and win the last game so that they have a safe passage to...
Well, let's head to Europe now, where there's Champions League action in less than an hour's time as Barcelona travel to Italy to face Inter Milan in the second leg of the semi-final. The first leg saw the two sides play out to a thrilling 3-3 draw in Spain, setting up a mouth-watering second leg in Italy ahead of the match. Hansi Flick, who's the FC Barcelona coach, says that he's bracing for a stern challenge from the Italian giants.
I think, when we start the season, no one had any idea what we achieved till now, and for me it's like it's not about pressure. It's now we play a final before the final, and we want to show how good we are. We want to show how we can play as a team, and we want to make the fans proud, the families proud, the club proud, and this is what we want to do. No, they are really good in defending, but also they are strong in attacking, and they are not, they are in a semi-final, and there are 4 really good teams, and we are one of them, but also Inter is a huge opponent. No, it's great, but for us also that we want to show that the way how we want to go, the trip goes till the final, and it's now at the end of the season, and it's every match is now very important, and of course tomorrow this is a great opportunity to get in the final.
With a tough contest anticipated at the San Siro later tonight, UK-based journalist Jima takes a closer look at what to expect in the crucial clash.
I think it's going to be a very big game tonight because obviously Barcelona's season will be defined by the Champions League and also the La Liga. Very, very important. San Siro, obviously Inter has to win as well because they've been having a very mild season, but so far so good for them in La Liga. So it's a big game. A lot of been talked about Lamine Yamal. Also, you have to look at the Inter side, a few players coming through. So it's going to be Humphries coming back from injury, making a massive impact on the night as well. So all these things will add up to the game and the excitement of the game. But I think with 3 goals at least from the two sides in the first leg, it will spice up the game and give it a little more something to look out for.
Well, before we go, let's do some tennis where Yannick Sinner says he was left lost and confused after being handed a 3-month doping ban. The 3-time Grand Slam champion agreed a settlement with the World Anti-Doping Agency in February after authorities accepted the anabolic agent clostebol had entered the system via massages from his physiotherapist. You can get more details of that story as well as live text commentary of the game between Inter Milan and Barcelona on our social media pages as well at 3sports.ch, where you can also get fan reactions as well as goal highlights. My name is Uri Kwampofo, and Hot Edition continues right after this.
Welcome back. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Some more stories here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. The former Secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissell, and one other accused have been granted a 200,000 cedi bail each. With two sureties, the criminal court on Tuesday ordered them to deposit their passports to the court registry. It follows charges leveled against them by the special prosecutor in connection with illegal mining operations. Christian Yale was in court earlier today and has filed this report.
The office of the special prosecutor slapped 15 counts of corruption charges against Charles Bissell and one Andios for allegedly using public office for personal gains. The OSP alleges that Bissell abused his position as secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining by accepting 15,000 cedis to circumvent established procedures guiding mining operations. Through his action, according to the charge sheet, Charles Bissell is also alleged to have unlawfully fast-tracked the renewal of mining permit for specific reasons. Appearing before the criminal court on Tuesday, both accused persons pleaded not guilty to the charges. The court admitted them to bail, setting the bond at 200,000 cedis bail each with two sureties. However, one of the sureties must be justified. The matter has been adjourned to 29th May 2025 for a case management conference, a procedural step designed to streamline the trial process and set timelines. Legal representatives declined to comment after the sitting.
And so Charles Bissell on 29th April 2025 issued a statement on this matter, and he asserted that he had always complied fully with the legal and ethical frameworks that guided the position he held. And so any claims of misconduct were baseless and would be fought vigorously following due process, after which he submitted his plea in the court on Tuesday. As part of the bail conditions, both accused persons are to submit their passports at the registry of the court and also report themselves to the office of the special prosecutor once every month.
That's Christian Yale there. Now, Petition Hospital's renal unit has resumed dialysis services for renal disease patients after nearly 2 weeks shutdown to a shortage of consumables. 3FM's checks at the facility today revealed that patients are already being contacted and scheduled for their sessions. According to renal disease patients, they have been unable to access the unit for dialysis since Tuesday, April 29, though emergency services remained available. The president of the Renal Disease Patient Association, Assafuah, expressed dissatisfaction with the recurring issue, demanding answers from authorities.
And the whole thing started about last week, Monday. Yes, I think after the first session, we heard they should hold on to the process. We've not heard anything again. We've been trying to find out, but normally we don't get, when we talk to the nurses, they don't have information. When we talk to the authorities, so they are not giving us any proper thing accurate. So we are just hanging around trying to hear from them. Until this morning, when we came back, trying to find out from them what exactly was going on. And we were informed that they are now going for a meeting to ascertain the situation of them. But I think after some hours, most of my patients started calling, they've been called to come back. And I think the unit is working now. As to whether it's going to continue or not, we are yet to find out how it's going to be. But for now, we just get the information, we started calling the patient to start coming for their session. So we are hoping to hear something. In fact, personally, I was not expecting to hear some of these things again. Because I think last year, we had a lot of challenges of this thing, and I was hoping the authorities will set up on this issue. Because the question is, do you sit down to say the consumables are finished, you don't even have for the outpatient? It's neither here nor there. I mean, we don't take this excuse. We don't know what is going on, whether it's politics, whether it's real. Somebody needs to come and talk to us and tell us exactly what is going on. These are human lives. These are people's lives. We just thank God that for about 2 weeks now, we've not had any bad news. But most of my patients are complaining. Some of them are saying they are breathing through their nose. Some of them are saying they cannot sleep. Some are saying they are having fatigue. All because they are not getting regular dialysis. And we don't know what is going on. We beg them. Somebody have to speak. Somebody have to tell us what is going on. We are human beings. When they speak to us, we understand. We know what is going to go on. We don't know what is going on. We beg them. These are human life. We have families, we have wives, we have children, we have loved ones. They need us alive. And just because of somebody's negligence or somebody's not doing his work for somebody to go and die, we cannot take this as a country. We beg them. Somebody have to come and tell us what is going on. Where are the consumables? If it is the consumables that is finished, where are they? We need to know what is going on.
And that brings us to the end of hot issues here on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Join me at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight on TV3, which is going to be live on 3FM 92.7. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. The drive continues. DJ Faculty and Trigmatic.